I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Kelly, and we are back with another video. If you guys are new to the channel and you enjoy true crime stories, news, politics, and so much more, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. I really would appreciate it. And if you are a returning listener, subscriber, well, thank you guys, as always, for being a friend. I really appreciate y'all, and please like the video if you like it. Give me a comment, whatever you can do. It really does help me out, and it's a free way to do so. And I thank everyone in advance for watching this video.
You know the thing.
So let's get right into it. Okay guys, so without further ado, I just want to start this video off by saying I was wrong, okay? I've done some reflecting over these past, few days and over the past week specifically, and I am not afraid to admit and come on here and correct myself and correct the record and say I was wrong, okay? About these Palestinian protesters. The argument that I was making, I realize now, was out of emotion. I am a woman, that it is normal for me to get emotional every now and then and to speak out of emotion rather than actual rational logic. So that's what we're going to try to do here today. Before we get into why I say that I was wrong, this video right here pretty much embody the reasoning behind my initial anger and disgust over what was happening on these college campuses over the past week. Before we are protesting for any other country, we need to be focusing and worrying about what's going on in this country, because right under your nose, they will slip in the most heinous shit.
From inside this building. Eric Adams and the police department have been making a series of ideological statements. The police chose to take down a Palestinian flag that the students had erected and put an American flag back up in its stead. An interesting move for a police force that's apparently there to provide peace and safety services and not make ideological statements. At a press conference, Eric Adams and
I want to stop you right there, because this I have a major problem with, and this is one of the things that I feel stands in the way of us all uniting together behind making our system of government and our country better as a whole. Because I think that progressives, and I've said this before, we share a lot of ideals and a lot of moral standpoints and things like that. I think that there is some commonality there with progressives and conservatives. And then there's the swamp in the middle and everybody else who just sucks. Okay. But the thing that stops me every time is this kind of language and calling the American flag and the raising the American flag ideological. Okay. No, it's not. No, it is absolutely not. And this might be a boomer take of me, and that's okay. I'm fine with that, because, there's a difference between the frat guys at UNC holding up the American flag and, also simultaneously holding up an Israeli flag, which I thought was so gay. I mean, honestly, it was gay. And they tried to make this this based moment, and if they had told the guys with the Israel flags to put that shit away, there should be no foreign flags flown in this country. I'm sorry. If that's boomer of me, so be it. And it's just that simple. So it's not ideological for the police to remove a Palestinian flag, which should have never been raised on a flagpole in this country to begin with, and to put back up the American flag that was taken down in the first place. Like I said, this is kind of a boomer lane for me, but I don't care, because I think that it is something that is important. And I think that, if we don't hold on to this country, it is going to go. It will, so people can cringe at it. People can think that this is a silly thing to harp on, but I disagree.
That's our flag, folks. Don't take over our buildings and put another flag up. That may be fine to other people, but it's not to me. My uncle died defending this country, and these men and women put their lives on the line. And it's despicable that schools will allow another country flag to fly in our country. So blame me for being proud to be an American. And I thank Commissioner Daughtry for putting that flag back up. We're not surrendering our way of life to anyone.
Perfect.
And I agree, honestly. I mean, I hate to say it, I really do. But I agree with Eric Adams. And I do think that these kids, there is influence. That's proven. That's a given. Again, I wasn't wrong about that. And, it needs to be addressed. And they need to be named, and they need to be shamed and prosecuted, honestly. People like Antifa, people that were arrested there on Columbia campus and other campuses around the country that weren't even students.
Sandra?
John, Fox News alert. This just in from our reporter, CB Cotton. These are live pictures of UCLA. We're getting some word out of New York City where NYPD sources are confirming to her about the protests here that 282 people were arrested Tuesday night at Columbia University and City College of New York. 134 of them were not affiliated with either school. That is nearly half. 148 did have an affiliation, but oh, by the way, an affiliation is not necessarily a current or full-time student.
And so before I go into why I was wrong and why I want to apologize and say that, I need to be more considerate of what's going on and the protesters, whatever the case may be, but let's just see, we saw some footage of the Columbia riots and protests and illegal encampments that were happening there. Even though my mind has changed towards these people, and like I said, I do stand with their right to dissent and their right to protest, and as long as they're staying within certain boundaries. But this was next level. Okay, this right here, I did say also it's okay to laugh at these people when they do stupid things, and this I mean, let me just show you the video.
And that is the video from moments ago as they clear out that encampment. And yes, they run with their masks.
Look at those shields. They mean fucking business, okay? They have cut up a trash can, a plastic trash can, and are using them as shields, okay? And they're running into battle, okay? These are battle-ready forces, okay? I mean, forget the military. They've got trash can shields.
And their disguises on and all the rest because they don't want anybody to know it's there, but you can't get past that.
Whoops.
Because there is police tape there, and you have been committing a crime, and they want to talk to you.
Hello? So, I mean, just really. And then they got these boogie boards or whatever. What is... I mean, you've got to give them... They tried. A for effort. Okay, so look at these dorks. Look at these band of miscreants and mental midgets. Okay, they've got their bike helmets on. And they've got their trash can shields. Is this not a picture of utter masculinity? I mean, my God. So I just wanted to make sure everyone saw what was going on because it's important that we look at these things. Boom. Oh my God. Your helmet fell off, sir. Okay, really? You're not getting... And he just abandons the mission. What were you running at? You're running at the cops and then trying to immediately drop your shield to try to get away? Like, what is that? The trash can. Okay, I'm done. And this was the body cam footage from them, the police breaching inside the building and having a clash with these protesters, which of course they were all crying about the very next day. And just as the students from the 60s and the 80s were as well. I mean, they're always a victim somewhere. If a victim cries in the woods and you don't hear it, did they actually cry? I think so. I think the answer is still yes, absolutely. I mean, who's going to pay for this? Also, is my question. So they tried to say that the police went in with all this force. I mean, it looks just like they're kind of just moseying their way in. I don't know. Plus, it's like in this day and age where police are being attacked and disrespected on a daily basis, I don't blame them for coming in a little hot, not knowing what kind of situation they're going to find themselves in. Sorry, but this is the risk you take, What are y'all doing? Who's protecting who here? What's going on? What's happening? I mean, at this point, you should be giving up. Yeah. See, that's what you should do, is sit there and allow yourself to be arrested. This is what you chose to do. So that should be no fighting back. There should be no any of that. I mean, I feel like this would be a scary situation for the police. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? So now we get into the climax and the boiling point that is now coming to a head over all of this campus protesting and all of this bullshit over a foreign conflict. And I do just want to stress again that this is another part of my issue, and why this makes me so angry and really gets me worked up is the fact that, like, and somebody made this point, I forgot where it was made, but it's like, why does this conflict deserve from these students all of this energy? And do they not realize that there's still a war happening that we're funding in Ukraine and Russia, or do they just not care? That's what I want to know, because if you're not against all of the foreign wars and this one just has more meaning to you, I would ask why, and what are your motives behind that? And are you fully educated on what it is that you're even doing there? Because that's what really pisses me off. It's like, why is it not all being addressed? If you're going to have a protest, if you're going to have a sit-in, if you're going to have a movement, and you're fighting for what you say is anti-war, divestments and sentiments, and it's like, there's other wars happening all across the globe. And specifically, another one that we're currently funding more so than we're funding the one in Israel. So where is that energy? Where is that outspoken opposition? Besides from people like me, all of that put to the side, okay? No matter how I feel about anything that any protester is doing in this country, okay? Any shit lib, college, leftist, lunatic, Antifa member, I don't care what it is. I care more about our government squashing our rights, as they love to do, and as they are currently doing with this new anti-Semitism bill that passed the House, okay, with overwhelming bipartisan support. Only 81 members of Congress voted against it. And it is alarming, to say the least. It is absolutely disgusting. They know no boundaries in order to use a crisis moment in order to strip more of our freedoms away. Okay, and it enrages me more than anything. Any climate protester standing in the middle of a roadway doesn't even compare to the contempt I feel whenever our government tries to use a crisis moment. They use that to try to chip away at the Constitution. So this anti-Semitism bill is absolutely abhorrent. And it's disgusting. Any one of your legislators that voted for this thing, you need to call them up immediately. I called my congressman who actually voted against it, to thank him and to tell him that he had my full support. But, it's despicable what they're trying to do now in the name of, stopping anti-Semitism or some other bullshit, as if, this is such a major problem, okay? And they're the ones who are creating a powder keg that is going to light up eventually, okay? They are the ones who are ginning up more and more anger, contempt, and I'll just say hatred for Jews, for Israel, and for Zionists, okay? And I don't know. I have no hate for anybody in my heart. I have major contempt for Zionists attempting to change American policy to benefit their country. I have contempt for anybody, any foreigner doing that. But Robbie's going to break it down here and say, and let you guys, I want you guys to hear exactly what was in this bill, already trying to compel speech, and they're trying to do it even more now in the name of Jews, okay, which is all completely going against the founding of this country and what we were supposed to be doing here. So let's watch this video.
So it's easy to make fun of these protesters, many of whom seem to know very little about why they are even protesting, and some of their antics deserve not just mockery, but condemnation. Statements in support of terrorist violence, exhortations for Zionists to be killed or worse, are contemptible, as are tactics that involve preventing other students from moving about campus and pursuing their own education. But critics of the campus left should not lose sight of the much greater threat, which is that campus authority figures, members of law enforcement, and even national legislators will act in a manner that gravely threatens the free speech rights of everyone. Indeed, in response to the protests, identity-obsessed busybodies are already working overtime to criminalize protests on grounds that offensive speech is a threat to the safety of Jewish students. More perniciously, hundreds of campuses created bias incident reporting systems whereby students were instructed to call the campus authorities, in some cases the literal police, if they overheard anyone say something that could offend another person on the basis of a protected class, like race, gender, sexuality, or disability status. At Colby College, someone filed a bias incident report where they overheard the phrase, "on the other hand." With no explanation given, though I gather the ever-vigilant person worried that a one-handed person might take offense at that remark. So these developments on campuses produce widespread mockery for many Democrats as well as Republicans. Aside from a minority of extremely difficult young people and the administrators who coddle them, most people do not think the university's job is to protect students from having their feelings hurt. Enter Congress. Unfortunately, many elected officials are hypocrites, and during a perceived crisis like the one unfolding on college campuses right now, they are all too eager to pass bad laws. Case in point, on Wednesday, yesterday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act by a margin of 320 to 91. This bill empowers the Education Department to take action against educational institutions that do not sufficiently combat anti-Semitic speech on campus. It also defines anti-Semitism incredibly broadly. Representative Thomas Massey, who voted against the bill, a Republican, pointed out on X that political statements about Israel would be effectively criminalized if the bill became law. Some of the statements deemed impermissible include denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination with respect to a Jewish state and, quote, applying a double standard to the state of Israel. Now, it should go without saying those are political judgments, but the First Amendment robustly protects that kind of speech, the right to disagree with the aims of the state of Israel or its government. This bill obviously flagrantly unconstitutional and, moreover, a clear violation of the idea that college students don't need protection from uncomfortable speech. Universities must protect their campuses from violence and harassment, whether that is motivated by anti-Semitism, some other political animus, or any other cause or no other cause at all. It's the action that counts, not the content of the belief. We don't criminalize thought crime. Now, the collective national media is obsessed with the campus protests, and understandably so. The spectacle of disproportionately elite, privileged young people resorting to histrionics, frequently amusing to general audiences. But people should feel free to mock them. Let's not forget, however, that U.S. Congress is using them as a pretext to grant vast new powers to federal bureaucrats with the explicit goal of enshrining into law a new right not to be offended. That would be one giant safe space.
And that's exactly right. You know, God bless you, brother. Our government is a feckless bunch of pirates, okay? They are just thieves and criminals and thugs, okay? And for them to try to, even with a straight face, pass something like this in the name of protecting Jews, who are like 2% of the population here, okay? At the same time, we're going to protect them in Israel too. It's like, what are we doing? When will we protect our citizens? When will we look after our veterans here? When will we close our southern border so that women and children are safe? Okay, I just cannot wrap my mind around how much our government has been compromised, and the fundamental principles of our Constitution have been thrown out the window and just shit all over in that Congress. And it's been going on for decades. People have been paying much more attention over the past 10 years, and now it's really bubbling to the surface. And we have enough laws, honestly. I would not be sad if not one more law was passed in Congress for the next 20 years. They need to be working on the budget And that's pretty much it. That's all I need from them to do. But like, no, instead they choose to enrich themselves, and they are using these students in a major way in order to try to point at them and make them the bad people. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. They're not the bad people, okay? I will just say that. The ones who are genuinely out there, I mean, we've all been young at one point. I was a bleeding heart liberal at one point too, okay? I really had to reflect on this, and I really did. And, you know, I came to my senses in a way, because I'm like, those people are not my enemy. They're not, you know? They're, you know, a lot of them have just anti-war sentiments, which so do I, on a massive scale, you know, like, so for that, we can come together. And a lot of them are just ignorant of the facts in general. That's just the point blank period truth of it, okay? So I can't be mad at them for that either. You know, I wish they would educate themselves. And like Robbie was saying, it is fun to laugh at some of these more ridiculous antics. But at the same time, they are not the ones who I need to go up against, okay? And they have been doing this, and I'm even prone to fall for it as well, where they pit citizens against one another in order to distract. And this is a big, huge fucking distraction. It's all it is. And again, it's to distract from the other, you know, war, the other front that we're currently laundering all of our tax dollars and our future children's tax dollars through Ukraine, by way of, you know, them just sending billions upon billions of dollars worth of aid over there, while everyone is looking at what's going on in Israel and Palestine, and nobody is really paying attention to where else our money is going. And then they want to turn us against one another and pit each other, you know, one group against the other. So that way we're just constantly spinning our wheels and chasing our tails, okay? And I'm honestly done with it. I really am. So yes, a lot of them are retards. Yes, a lot of them are misguided. They are infiltrated. They are ignorant. But they are not my enemies. And I was wrong about them. I think that maybe the ones that are there with bad intentions, the Fed implants, you know, the Antifa implants, the communists that hold genuine beliefs that America should be dismantled, those are bad people. Those are not my people, you know. I'm talking about the ones that are just genuinely bleeding heart liberal, you know, college students who just want to have purpose in their life, because they are very much starved for that. At some point, we got to put all of this to the side. But my only concern with that is that as much as we can oppose, you know, people who are, you know, libertarian minded or conservative minded can eventually come to this point, I worry that, you know, these people are so brainwashed on the left and so hysterical in their beliefs that oftentimes they won't even have a conversation with somebody who's on the other side of their argument. So I worry that we'll never get to that point with them, because they've been so completely and utterly like zombified into thinking that, you know, we are their enemies, and that there is no talking to somebody who believes that, you know, Trump is not a terrible orange man. You know, they're led to believe that, you know, white people are just the devil. So they won't even want to have a conversation with somebody like me, who is white, who loves Trump, who loves this country. You know, they'll just write me off as a Nazi, bigot, xenophobic, you know, unicorn. I don't even know. And one of the things that really helped me to come to this position and really start to reflect and reconsider my position on the pro-Palestine or anti-war protesters that are demonstrating on these campuses was whenever I started to see MSNBC and the likes of those types starting to compare these protests to what else, guys? I think you might know where I'm going.
Richard, to your point, I think that's where that's the place we've all been sitting in watching this, going, what the hell is going on? What are these universities doing? Why aren't they doing something? And I'll echo the horror that this does look like January 6th. What a terrible example for our students.
The horror! The fucking horror of January 6th, guys. We all know it was the Pearl Harbor of its time. It still is. I'm still shaking in my boots over January 6th, guys. We all know how scary it was. I still have nightmares, okay? The horror. Okay, this was a big wake up call for me. Okay, you're comparing those guys over there, the liberal shriektards, to January 6ers. Okay, well maybe I'm with them then. I'm not with, if they're January 6th equivalent or adjacent, then maybe I need to go over there, because I'm not with whatever the fuck this is going on here.
At the same time, these are young adults, and the question is, why do you choose to learn about the complexities of other situations around the world? But this one, you want to set up an encampment. This one, you want to scare people. This one, you want to come to the edge of violence or even go to violence.
Not the
this
edge.
one,
They're
you risk your future and your education for.
January 6th, guys.
See, I think these college students obviously are missing the part where they need to see.
And I jokingly, and I was comparing this to January 6th because it is. I mean, it just is. Just to show the sheer ridiculous outrage that happened over January 6th, and to really just drive the point home. It wasn't to say that, like, oh, what these students were doing on campus was just so crazy to me. I mean, it was, to me, more egregious what they're doing because, like I said, this was a private college campus or a public college campus, and I don't agree with destroying private property and businesses in order to prove a point. Again, it's my opinion that we should take it to our government if we have an issue, but that's just me. And there was no violence on January 6th. The violence was coming because of the agitators and because of the cops who were provoking the people who were being pushed in to the building by the outside forces. So yeah, like, I was comparing to make a point, because neither one was really that bad. I mean, the BLM riots, that was a different story. That was an actual summer of complete and utter violence and just disgusting pig behavior, okay, from a group of people that who God only knows what they were up to and what their true motives were, but I guarantee you it wasn't to stand for black people, okay? That was just good old-fashioned violent rioting, and that was truly despicable. But this demonstration, this protest, this encampment, college campuses, and same with January 6th was really in the spirit of protesting, in my opinion. But I mean, it's just to see MSNBC and Morning Joe make this point to me. I mean, wow, I was shooketh. My flabbers are gasted, okay?
What's going on across the country with these protests, that it's now in the realm of violence. It's in the realm of hatred, whether some are peaceful or not. They need to watch the news and look at all the different arguments and be adults, or start learning to be adults, and set up discussions and debates across college campuses, or their colleges or universities are going to have no choice but to expel them and ruin their future, the impact they want to have on the community, society, and the world at some point. But let's then go to the hard part of this. What is the solution for college, university presidents and deans who want to maintain control but also preserve free speech? On the what are solutions? Let's talk about solutions.
It's very simple. You first of all, you enforce the rules of your college campuses. There is a concept.
Well, but you know that at this point would be hard to do.
Well, no. Actually,
I'm just saying, you go out there and you start arresting people.
Yeah, you do. You either follow the law, you don't follow the law. There's a concept.
I don't think it's that simple.
In the First Amendment. No, if you, I will say, I understand over the last 24 hours what the Columbia administration has been trying to do. They've been trying to bring this to a peaceful resolution. And what happened? People got hammers and they broke into buildings. At that point,
that's a crime.
At that point, that's a crime. They should all be arrested, and they shouldn't be suspended. They should be expelled from school.
Hear, hear.
But you don't allow these protesters to take the campus over themselves and say, this is our viewpoint. We are going to scream. We are going to set up encampments. We are going to dominate this debate. So you only hear our side. And the louder we scream, the more self-righteous we feel.
That's what they're doing.
The idea of colleges, Willie, the last time I checked, for at least when there still were liberal, the sort of a liberal tradition of learning at places like Columbia, you actually have discussions.
Oh, what happened?
You actually pursue the truth.
sorry, morning fucktard. What happened to those liberal ideals? I wonder, could it have been the mainstream media spitting their disgusting vitriol about how white people are evil and colleges need to become more woke, DEI needs to be incorporated, anti-racism principles need to be incorporated? Was that not you guys implementing and calling for that like every day on your stupid fucking morning show? How dare you now, when people like Morning Joe and his band of retards up there were calling for people like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk and mild ass people adjacent to those types, when they tried to go speak on these campuses, y'all were the ones who were like encouraging the students to shut that shit down, and for protests, and for a dialogue to not occur, for people to not be allowed to speak. Now you want back the liberal ideas of college, the old school ideas of dialogue and debate? I'm sorry, no. You already shit all over that principle and wiped your ass with it and threw it out the window, okay? Because it's a little too late now for you to want to like reel that back in. And so what happened to this? Just yesterday I was calling for people like Riley Gaines to not be allowed to speak on campuses. Just yesterday I was calling for people like Candace Owens to be banned from being able to book events on college campuses. But now, where's the debate? Why can't we just have a little good old-fashioned debate? Well, it's because of you. It's because of you.
And no one's yelling.
Right.
They're giving people places on campuses to protest. And then, in the case of Vanderbilt anyway, when they stormed into a building and broke a window and pushed a security guard aside and sat there for a day, the students were suspended. They looked individually at all their cases and they expelled a handful of them. So we've given you all these outlets, Jonathan. We've given you places to have these conversations, which is what college is supposed to be. You don't have to pick a side, just listen to the debate.
Totally.
And do you think any of the people in that building at Columbia right now actually want to have that conversation?
Look, President Shafiq needs to, deliver consequences, not make concessions.
You are Jewish. You are Jewish. Silence. 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 Jewish.
That is just what I want to do every time I see Jonathan Greenblatt's bald-headed ass come onto my screen and feel that he has the right to talk to me with his fucking face, the way that it's set up, okay? I guess I'll give him 30 seconds of my time because I can't handle much more of that. And this is the head of the ADL. If you guys aren't familiar with him, I'm jealous of you.
Chancellor Diermeyer at Vandy is an example of just a leader with moral clarity. That's your alma mater. My alma mater is Northwestern.
No one
President
asked.
Michael Schill actually gave in to the protesters yesterday at Northwestern, inexplicably, literally making a series of concessions to them after they did the same thing. And I think we need to keep in mind, these demonstrators are ruining it for everyone. They are holding hostage kids' graduation, commencements, just the final exams period. So it's not just a Jewish problem, it's everyone's problem.
It's not just a Jewish problem. If I had a nickel for every time I heard a Jew say that, I'd be as rich as they are. So, yeah, guys, that's a whole nother story, that one right there. But again, I reflected. I've changed a little bit of my opinion in regards to the government trying to clamp down on all of this and use this moment to have their own stupid moment. And I just want people to recognize what's going on. And it's not just in the U.S., it's all throughout the world. These protests are driven by people who are sometimes have hidden motives and hidden agendas that have nothing to do with what it is that they're encouraging people to act out and do. And that the people in the streets who are dissenters are not your enemies. They're not my enemies for sure. Because I, myself, am a dissenter of the American government and the swamp state that we have. The oligarchy system that we have currently, I am a dissenter and I want to be allowed to dissent when necessary. And I was hooting and hollering on my last video about how, you know, when it comes time and we need people to be in the streets in this country, if it ever comes to that, God willing it never will, but I just wonder if these people would stand with us. And I hope to God that they would, because, you know, I would never go and stand with them on this cause because it has nothing to do with this country. But I fully and wholeheartedly believe that they should be given the right to peacefully protest. Again, I will say that peacefully. There should be some boundaries. And, you know, I think that you can still make a point and you can still make a difference and do a little bit of social disobedience when necessary, but it should never come to the point of being violent or resisting whenever the police are brought in to remove you from those situations. There should always be peaceful transitions in those times, and there needs to be a mutual respect on both sides, and for everyone to just realize we're not against each other, and we need to be united against the and I hate to say this, like I was going to say the oppressors, but I'm not oppressed by anybody. But the government would seek to oppress me if they could. As of right now, thankfully they can't. But I'm just saying, against this tyrannical, feckless, and illegitimate, in my opinion, government that we have, that just serves no purpose for what it was originally intended to do. And having to feel like we're not represented on any level by our government and our politicians. You know, like, we had a whole ass revolution over a lot less, okay? I think it was over like some tea or something like that, okay, back in the day. So I'm just saying, you know, at what point are we going to really put our foots down and vote a lot of these people out? I mean, we need a total wash, total mix up of all politicians, and we need to get serious about that. And people need to wake up their boomer relatives, all of their friends and families that like to live in the bubbles and like to just go through life being ignorant. All those people need to come to this moment. And we need to come to it together. But that's just my thoughts. What are your thoughts, guys? Please like the video if you liked it. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more like this. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, y'all stay safe out there. And I will see y'all later. Bye.
I just tell the truth. And telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. If you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people.
The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.